Obviously, Bitcoin has been on a huge run, and we're seeing a new rally in cryptocurrency that we haven't seen in a few years. What's your take on why this is happening and how long it will last?
Well, I think it'll last for a while. By the way, thank you for having me on. It's good to talk to you again. I think what we're seeing happen are some macro factors, not the least of which is, when you print billions and trillions of dollars in stimulus of fiat currencies, many people take a look at inflation hedges. And while gold has historically been the darling in that category, I think increasingly you're seeing Bitcoin and digital assets broadly viewed as this is a real inflation hedge, and I think it's really driven a lot of the activity we've seen lately and almost record highs.
Now, PayPal is now allowing users to buy, sell, and hold cryptocurrency, which is part of what kicked off this big run. But PayPal has decided to not include Ripple's XRP. What is your response to that?
Well, XRP has been a topic of lots of speculation in terms of how the U.S. regulatory environment would look at the currency XRP, which is separate from Ripple, the company. But a lot of foreign regulators across the world have looked at and been decisive about looking at XRP as a virtual currency. Here in the U.S., you haven't had that same clarity. And without that clarity, you have companies like PayPal and Square and others that they're supporting Bitcoin, and because it has that clarity. And look, I'm a bull on Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin, but I also think we need to acknowledge that when Bitcoin is more than 50% of the mining is in China, that China can control those technologies. And I think we in the U.S. really need to get in sync with other major economies across the world and how we look at an asset like XRP and treat it similarly.
So how concerned are you that China could, given their support of it, somehow, start to dominate that market and give the country an advantage?
Look, I think the Chinese Communist Party is being very strategic and is very focused on dominating this technology. I worry that this will be the next 5G race. We lost that race, and I think we're in danger of repeating that mistake again in the battle for what I think will be the future of our global financial infrastructure and payments. And, again, I think the irony is simply that unintentionally, as a regulatory body here in the United States, we have given an advantage to Bitcoin to provide what I'll call the good housekeeping seal of approval from the SEC that has allowed people to, like PayPal and like others, that with that clarity and that certainty, they are supporting those assets, and they're allowing people and entrepreneurs to build companies around them and to safely invest.
Now, you made headlines last month when you said Ripple might move its headquarters out of the U.S. due to the lack of regulatory clarity. Now that we have Joe Biden becoming president-elect, are you still contemplating that? What are your hopes under a Biden administration?
Well, I think a lot of these issues are very bipartisan, so I don't see it as fundamentally different between who is at 1600 Pennsylvania. I do think there are some subtle changes. Ultimately, Ripple is an American company. I'm a kid who grew up in Kansas, and we're a proud U.S. company. We want to stay here. We've generated a lot of tax revenue for the government and a lot of high-paying jobs. But we also need a level playing field. If we can't compete effectively with these technologies, in this case controlled by Chinese miners, then we have to be able to compete on a level playing field, and so we would look elsewhere. The one thing I will say that I think will change in a Biden administration is another drawback of how Bitcoin operates is through this mining, and 1% of global energy consumption is consumed by Bitcoin mining. And in a world where we should be attentive to carbon production and the impact of the dynamics going on in the climate, I think the Biden administration likely would be more attuned to those dynamics. And I think that will bring more attention to the lack of efficiency in Bitcoin mining.